Started. Fantastic. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Get Optimized Week 4 office hours. So on Tuesday, we talked about gauging customer interest. But on today's call, we've got some content we can share, but really we want to know from you, what are you interested in hearing about from us? You've got myself, Jenny Hoban here, you've got Edit, Chris, you've got Deanna, and then we also have our friends from EMM on the call. We've got Jeff Stevenson on as well. So you've got a ton of folks here with lots of marketing experience. So we want to know what's on your mind today. How are you feeling about the program? Are there any roadblocks that you've hit? Are there any questions that you have for us? So I'm going to give a minute. So first of all, come off mute and speak up and share your thoughts or your questions. But we do have plenty of content that we're happy to start sharing out if there's no immediate questions. I'm going to give a nice big long pause here so people have time to write something in the chat or come off mute. All right. Well, then we'll go ahead and get things started. But again, stop us literally at any point. Think about what you might want to know from us. So I'm going to start us off. Chris Latta shared out some information with us on National Small Business Week is coming up in just a few weeks. And there's a bunch of ways that you can get involved. So Chris, do you want to share a little bit about this opportunity?
Yeah, so really, National Small Business Week is something that's been going on for years and years and years. And it's a great opportunity for you to interact with other small businesses. There's a lot of hype around it. So you could kind of maybe leverage the excitement around this week and, do a promotion or host an event around it. What's kind of neat is that Microsoft and the National Small Business Administration have put together some kind of great resources of their own that you could go and look at and link to. There's social media content, tweets that you could link to. There's blogs. There's a free e-guide you could download and other documents that you can link to for your promotions. And then also it's a great time maybe to think about having an event. I've listed some event ideas here that the team and then I have kind of looked at that might be different events you could have. And these are sort of, we're not saying you have to do these events. You could have any event that you want. We did talk a couple weeks back about other RTG event content that you might want to use, but here's some kind of different ones. So one we're pointing to is that, maybe Skype for Business is really kind of a great thing, and you can leverage the Office 365 E5 SKU off of that. So it's kind of a different way to maybe host an event and get those Office 365 sales in there. And the neat thing about this link to Skype for Business, it's an event in a box. So there's a slideshow, social media, event email templates, there's a video demo guide, web banners, everything you need to really run a successful event. Another thought to think of is we have a Go Genuine, Go Office 365 event you might want to take a look at. And this is really, it's part of our Modern Biz compliance campaign, and it's built on the Modern Biz Safeguard Your Business pillar. And it's really talking about cybersecurity. So that's a good way to kind of leverage some Office 365 sales in there as well. So there's social media copy blocks, web banners, landing page, articles, all types of things to help support that event if you should do it. There's also, just the more standard, things we did talk about last week or a couple weeks back with the SMB sales presentation, etc. Also, it's a great time because you are interacting with the community to maybe think about, contacting MCC and having an event through MCC with a chamber of commerce, local Rotary, or another organization within your community. That's a great way to reach out, get some more leads, and interact with other small businesses. So just some ideas.
Yeah, no, a couple of things I just want to pile on this. We're going to be talking on next Tuesday's call about some additional programs that Microsoft offers that can help you, do an event, that can help you get an audience for an event. So, we've got Microsoft Community Connections. There's the CIE program, the demoing program as well. So we have a lot of programs. Microsoft Stores is another thing that we've got that you can get involved in your local area. So there are a bunch of resources, but there are a few things like this National Small Business Week that happen every year, and there's a lot of opportunities that you can get involved in, with your local Microsoft Store or your local community partners, where you can really leverage this opportunity to get maybe a wider audience, maybe get your event to be, known by more people and get more leads and more attendance there. So we do really recommend, becoming aware of these types of opportunities throughout the year to take advantage of this. Obviously, we do create things specifically for this week. That's Skype for Business, event in a box. So, for this program, if you are interested in doing an event and, kind of weren't sure where to start, that could be a great way to just immediately have kind of your topic and kind of all of your resources set up for you. So I really recommend that you do look at that. And, we did have a comment, Taylor, I know you're on the call, about, a lot of your partners, maybe they're totally on board with Office 365, they get it, or sorry, a lot of your customers, but maybe, it's kind of showing them kind of that next step. And I know you kind of talked about migration, and that's certainly something we can chat about more, but, Skype for Business is a great way to show kind of that next step and that higher end SKU of Office 365. So even if you're talking to an audience that's like, yeah, Office 365 is great, I get it, this might be that kind of clincher of why they kind of really want to dive in, or even that upsell opportunity to take them to the next level if they're already on board with Office 365. So just some things to think about. Again, we are going to be talking more about other opportunities like this next week, so definitely join for that.
So I had one comment.
Yeah.
So what I've heard from other partners, especially partners in the CIE program, are you guys aware or familiar with the Customer Immersion Experience program? So that's the demoing program that Ginny had mentioned earlier. So that's always a kind of that last marketing thing that you can do to help close the business or close the sale or do the deployment or do the migration. So if you're interested in more information about that, we can definitely cover that as well if that's needed. So I think in an email back to, was it Taylor? I can send some more information about that. What I've heard is more partners use that to actually get the deployment or get the migration or close the sale as well. So
yeah,
and there's always SMB offers around CIE as well for you to get certified in that program. So that's a super awesome tool for you to have to educate your own team as well and make them qualified, certified, right, to showcase the product for your customers. So.
Yeah, and certainly everyone I know who's in that program and who invests in that just rave about the fact that demoing works. So that's definitely a great point. Can I ask the group, and you can come off mute or you can type into the chat window, how many of you have done anything related to National Small Business Week in your local market in past years? Everybody want to get some... We have, so Jeff, you're saying you did. Taylor, not before. So Jeff, would you mind coming off mute and sharing what you've done in past around Small Business Week? Or you can type into the chat window. But don't be afraid to come off mute.
No,
I'm sure you guys get sick of hearing our voices all the time.
If you know me, you know I'm never afraid to talk.
There we go. Love it.
So we did a presentation at the Microsoft Store 2 years ago. When they were doing, they do a whole bunch of stuff this next week, as you know, or 2 weeks from now. And so we did a whole presentation. I can't even remember what it was on. I think it might have been Office 365, I think. Yeah, it was Office 365 and SharePoint and stuff like that. So we did a presentation there as part of their National Small Business Week.
Fantastic. No, that's awesome. Getting involved in your stores is a great way to get to know your community and to really leverage them to help grow, the audience that you could have in an event. Some of them, they're going to promote it and then you can just come in and speak at it. So that's great. And particularly if you have maybe a presentation that, you're really strong on, but you kind of want to, get it out in front of more people, that's a great way to do it. How did you feel like the success was from that? What was kind of the outcomes that you saw or the impact that you saw?
I don't think you'll like the answer. It was nothing.
Okay.
So we had more people there than were at the store. So we had like 5 or 6 people there, and I think there were 4 people that showed up for the presentation. Now, this is when the Colorado store was still fairly new, though.
Yeah.
I think this might have been the first year that they were doing something like this. So we didn't get any opportunities out of it, but we would do it again.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, that's good to know. And, I think that's the thing, right, is, sometimes these things don't work and sometimes they don't go quite as well as you want. And I think, sometimes it is about, we talked about follow-up this week. And so, it is maybe having a second person there to kind of, chat with people while you're presenting or, I don't know, like making sure that you're really getting, contacts from everyone. If you've only got 4, obviously that's a bit tricky and sometimes you might not know like what motivated them to come in, et cetera. But that's definitely one thing. But it's great to hear that you would think about going again because with marketing, it's like you try it once and maybe the recipe just didn't work that time or for some reason, just the environment didn't quite fit for that particular one.
Or the timing isn't right.
Yeah, exactly. And you mentioned the timing of the store just opening. Exactly. It can be all about timing. So I definitely recommend, if you try something once and it doesn't quite work, try it a second time and just see if it's not just an issue of, timing.
Yeah, our perspective is, we do these demos all the time, so there's no effort to do it. It's go into the store and spending an hour, even if there were only 4. If those were 4 prospects, that's plenty to do it. What we found in the store, though, at least when we did it, was that most of the people there were solo people, so not great targets for a consulting services company.
Yeah. And that's good to know as well, though, because while you want leads. Knowing who you don't want can be just as important as knowing who you do. So, I think it is important to kind of know who you're looking for and who you want to interact with so that you are using your time wisely, right? We talked about time management this week. And I think, really successful partners that we've talked to, they know just as well, exactly the target audience they are looking for as they do the customers that they kind of think, this isn't really what we're, great at and isn't really where we potentially want to spend our time. So, yeah, it's great feedback. And so I see, Trina, you're saying you haven't done anything in the past, but you are doing one coming up on May 4th. Which local store is it? Which area are you in? Trina might be coming off mute. That's great. We love to hear that you're getting engaged there, and we'd love to hear after the session if you could share out, the impact and, a little bit more details on what it was like for everyone, and then certified. Robin's saying you're certified for MEC and for CIE, but you struggle to get people in. So that's really interesting. We've got our MCC lead, Sandeep, who's going to be coming in, but we're talking about MEC demo, which is different. Apologies. So we can have Wendy, who runs that program, come in and share some tips on that. I know that we've got some resources around, some best practices for getting audiences, but that is obviously, that's the rub on that one. When it comes down to it, you can get really good at demoing, but really getting a whole group of people in a room, can be difficult. Can I ask everyone else on the call, is anybody else CIE or MEC certified? And if so, do you have any guidance on what you've done to get folks into the room? Okay. I know that there are some other partners who, have really found a great recipe for that, and have really blossomed. So I will have us reach out to a few of them and see if we can't get it.
Yeah, actually, we have some best practices that we can share. Absolutely. Yeah. But I think in every marketing tool, it's getting in front of the customer becomes the hardest part, right? But what I also have heard, and this is Diana, everybody, is you can also benefit from the CIE to educate your own sales team, right? As you bring on people who come and leave, that's also another awesome way to make sure you're up to date on the product, how the product works, and what's in it for the customer as well. So it kind of sharpens their sales pitch. Absolutely. So.
Yeah, and I think the more you do it, that's so true, because I know one of the partners in this program, TechWise, out of Pennsylvania, they do the CIE and they get people in the room, but also they just know it so well that also they'll just like go into their customer's office and kind of start demoing, because they feel so confident around having that conversation at this point, they demo first. Like that's the way that they close deals, and they find a lot of success with that. But I will reach out to them and see what they do to get people in a room, because I've even heard from them, and they've been doing this for a long time, that is always kind of what it comes down to, is how many people can they get there. So we've got a follow-up note on that one. And Trina, awesome. Yeah, we'd love to hear how that goes and get some feedback. So I will say, there are opportunities throughout the year with the Microsoft stores, and so we'll share some more on that next Tuesday, where we've been chatting with our team members who work on that side of the house. And but these opportunities like National Small Business Week, and there's a few others throughout the year, are really a great time. There tends to be more going on in the stores, so it's a great time to kind of maybe start that interaction, or get involved. And then, honestly, I think they look for content as well, and they look for folks who can present this sort of information. So once you've kind of got a good groove going with your store, if there's that opportunity in your local market, they can sometimes, they are looking to have, dynamic opportunities happening regularly, events happening regularly. So, kind of being that on-call expert is definitely something that I know a lot of our partners have had success with.
I know that the stores too are offering, participating stores are offering promotional giveaways and things like that. So you could leverage that as enticement to get people in as well. So.
Absolutely, and one of those we actually did mention this week on Yammer. Edit, you posted this about the $50 Bing ad credit for your customers.
$250 actually.
That's for partners.
Oh, for customers, yes.
This is
customers is 50.
Yes.
Well, so there's two, right? So for National Small Business Week, you see it up on the screen, there's a $50 Bing ad credit, and that's for any SMB customer, is my understanding, which also, FYI, if you are an SMB, that works for you as well. But then there is also the Bing Ad Spark program, and that's a partner-facing program. That one is only for anyone who hasn't done any Bing ads before.
So actually, both of them are for new Bing ad customers.
Oh, they are? Okay.
The $50 and the $250. So if you guys have never done it before, it's better to take advantage of the $250 one.
Mm-hmm.
That one is specifically for partners, but you can actually share with your customers the $50 one, because that's specifically for SMBs, and it's tied into the National Small Business Week events that we have coming up, and that might be a nice value add for you to share with your customers. It doesn't necessarily have to be tied into anything, but just a nice gesture to help build that relationship with them.
Yeah, and if you haven't, thought about what you want to send out in terms of your content for an email campaign during this program, creating something around National Small Business Week, that really is a great touch point. It does give you that credibility that you are an expert in that small and medium business space. If you kind of show that you're aware of this and you're involved in that, and yeah, you could create something like a little package or a little content piece around that expertise and around the Bing ad credit as an opportunity. So if you're not looking to do an event just yet, that might be a great just touch point email campaign that you could set up.
Also, we have I don't know if any of you have used SMB partner newsletters. but the newest newsletter that's going to be published today already has a thing about the National Small Business Week in it, and there's a place within these for you to put your own promotion, so that's ready to go content for you. Also, any articles in there that you don't like or don't want to use, you can replace with stuff that's your own, and all the links in there are customizable so that they go back to you. So that's a really easy, ready to use content. I'll put the URL for that in the chat.
Perfect. So again, I'm going to take a quick pause. Has this brought up any questions for you? Is there anything you want to check in with us about, either about this or anything?
Do you guys have any examples of Office 365 web pages that you've built that you'd like us to take a look at, or that you're willing to just share? Maybe you've reviewed the one that you had, or you put up a new one and we can provide some feedback, or email examples, anything like that. This is a great time for that too.
And I do have here, Taylor, who's on the call, shared with us over the GetOpt alias last week an email example that he had put together. And our team reviewed it and shared some feedback with him on that. So I thought that, Taylor, I know you're on the call, so I'd love to hear, what you thought about that feedback and how you maybe made some changes based on that. But then, our team can also share kind of some of the feedback that we had, based on this piece.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, great. I appreciate the feedback, and I believe I implemented all of your suggestions. Quite often, you know how it is when you create something like this, it's better to have 3 or 4 sets of eyeballs looking at it. And of course, with your marketing expertise, I think it's better now. I put the bullets in it this morning. So I sent that to the Get Optimized mailbox. I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it looks even better now. The bottom half of the first paragraph, I split that out. And it looks good though.
Yeah, so this is the before. I'm going to share out my desktop and show the after right now. And let me know when folks can see my screen.
Oh, you don't have the red markup?
Not on that version.
Not on this version, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, no, you do have the white space there, which I think looks really strong. And I know we kind of talked about adjusting kind of some of that first language in terms of making sure that you're talking, as quickly as possible to the point about why it matters to the partner. Sorry,
Right.
to the customer. I always get.
Down towards the bottom where it says City of Panama City Beach, that's their legal name, but I've dropped City of. So it just says Panama City Beach, and then I think added Florida in front of Executive Office of the Governor. But everything you did was an improvement. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we love going through this and having a look at this and seeing what you're sending out. This is a great exercise for us as well. And I completely agree, Taylor. I think it is so important to have multiple people look at something. So if you have anyone on your team who can kind of just do a check with you, sometimes it can be really hard to think about what your customer would think of it. You start writing it, you're like, oh, it makes total sense to me, right?
Right.
So having that second check of somebody else is always a great idea.
Unfortunately here, everyone is so busy, I'll send it out and you get an immediate, hey, it looks great. And then you really don't know if they spend any time on it.
No, and that is absolutely true. I think time management, we talked about it this week. It's so difficult. And, it's competing priorities. We talked about both of these things this week. We talked about, time management and focusing time on your most highly valued opportunities. And yet at the same time, we did talk about the fact that you want to be creative, but you also want to make sure that you're getting it out in a timely manner. So there's always, those competing priorities. And I think, you do your best and you try and, it's all about I feel like every single email I write ever, is always kind of getting better and better, and, you're always honing that. So, slowly over time, I think you continually adjust and make things better where you can.
Cindy, can you go back to the before?
Yeah. Let me see if I've got it here.
So one thing I like to do, just on the subject of people being really busy to review and saying it looks good, if you have any friends that are available or family members or someone outside your organization, that's really helpful too. And the reason why I think that feedback is so valuable is because those folks are completely outside of your industry. They are thinking about completely different things, and when you are reaching out to a prospect, they're probably not thinking about the same things as you are either. So I've had, for example, my sister reviews for some stuff, and she's always saying, why do I need to review this? I don't know anything about marketing. And I'm like, yeah, but you could receive one of these things. So if she was to read the original email, so this is the version 1 before the improvement that Taylor made, but if she were to read this, she'd probably say, okay, opens with my name is Taylor Dickerson. Okay, that's great, and I am with ISC. And she'll probably ask, what is ISC? So that's a really good question. Is there enough information about the company? Should we add computing services or cloud services to the end of that just to make it look really clear? And then for the second sentence, for example, it says Microsoft has changed their Fast Track program. My sister would probably say, what is a Fast Track program and how is that relevant to me? So just an example of, really pulling yourself outside of what you normally do day to day, or having someone completely external take a look at this can draw some really good insights into what your potential customers and leads might be thinking as well. So that's one strategy to use as well.
That's great.
Yeah. No, as you said,
No,
your
good
company is busy.
Good stuff, yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, use your kids. I always say use your kids.
That's actually a really good point. So speaking of using kids,
Not your 5-year-old.
Not your 5-year-old, but maybe a 3rd or a 4th grader. So I used to work at a marketing agency before this role, and especially for the SMB audience, we would always try to bring it down to a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade reading level, which sounds pretty basic. I mean, it's not going to be like that all the time, but generally we didn't want to go above a 6th grade reading level, especially when you're talking to SMBs. SMBs are kind of similar to the consumer market just because they're smaller. Whatever is easiest for them to read and understand immediately would be more impactful. So the more big words you have in there and the more fluffy stuff you have in there, your meaning gets lost. So if you can really simplify to the point where you feel like your 6th grader can take a look at it and understand, then you're probably, in the best spot if you do that.
And we talked about this with the Office 365 landing pages a couple weeks back, but I think adding in the bullets too, do help it be a little bit more readable. We talked about the fact that we all do this. We're more likely to scan than we are to actually read every word and read sentences. So, providing that white space and that way of kind of easily looking at it and getting the key points that you need is definitely, I think that's how we all read, right? So I think that's really useful.
There's a good app out there called the Hemingway app.
Oh, yes.
I'm going to put the URL for that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, this one's awesome. I really like this one, and I always forget about it.
So this is this is a good tool to use, especially if you don't always have the team right at your hand. You can put your copy in there, and it tells you what it thinks is too long or what's difficult. So that's a good one to use.
Yeah, that's a great check.
I've heard for a long time that you should limit the number of bullets on a slide to maybe 4 or 5 at best.
I would say 3 even. Yeah.
Yeah, the fewer the better. My letter had 6 bullets. Is that too many?
I would try and keep it between 3 and 5.
Yeah.
If you can. Yeah. 3 is most effective. I mean, you just want you want your reader to not feel like, oh, I have to read all these things. If they open up your email and they see a long list, and they don't have time to read it, or maybe you didn't grasp them strong enough in the beginning, the more bullets they see, the less likely they are to read it. So if you can keep it to 3 or 4, that's better. I wouldn't go more than 5.
Yes, I wasn't here last week. Did you mention not to attach anything for the customer to open?
Oh, we didn't.
Okay, don't attach anything for the customer to open. First of all, that might put you in junk, and you don't want to go in junk if you have an attachment. Give them a link, right? Send them to a website or a page or your social. If you're trying to give them information to read, put it on your LinkedIn page, put it on your Facebook page, put it on your own website, but don't attach it to a customer, right? Even if it's a small file, it might actually end up in the customer's junk, and not all of us actually check junk folder.
Yeah.
So it will get lost. I noticed it said I've attached on the first one,
Yes.
I attached a company overview. Your website is your company, so send them to your website and make sure it has the information that you need, right?
Yeah. Or Taylor, you could even just host that PDF online, so it's not an attachment. If you feel like your website is still in progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, keep that in mind.
But attachments should really be valuable. If you're sending an attachment, it should be something that
Only
someone
if
is
they-
waiting for.
If they ask for it.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. That's after the fact, so not as an initial email.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the great thing about if they go to find out that more information on your website, then they are on your website, and it's more likely that they're potentially going to click on something else or take another action. So you've kind of already got them there.
Well, that makes sense.
But honestly, I mean, I think, it's a great email. I mean, I think, it's always kind of that, updating. I like the fact that you've kind of got one clear call to action in this email, which is you want to schedule the brief meeting or call. So I think that's good. I think, well, I'm a person who has way too many CTAs in my emails. Everything I send out, there's always, register here and click here and do this, trying to please everyone. And that often leads to people being overwhelmed. So I really like that, and I think that that's a real best practice.
Sure. What we try to do, and the purpose of that attachment was, we deal an awful lot with government. We have migrated most to Florida state government. We're just finishing Alabama now. Georgia has been moved by Microsoft, but we're moving out into other southeastern states. And if a potential customer can see what we've done, we feel like, that's pretty impressive. But you're right. Instead of having an attachment, just put a link to the website and let them get it there.
But Taylor, not even that. You should just put that in there and say, did you know that we migrated, just one liner? That's a huge highlight that you want to share as a short sentence. That would be awesome. And then for more details, go here, right, if you want to learn more. Because that's a strong statement about what you've done and what you've accomplished locally, right? That would be of interest to them to know, right? So I would highlight that in so they read it right away.
You've got a little bit of that here. I see it, Tier 1, Microsoft Cloud Service Provider, and you say you've migrated over 35,000 state and local governments. I would try and call that out a little bit more. It's kind of within a couple sentences. So if there's a way of kind of bringing that a little bit more to life, I think it'd be great. Yeah. It's great content. It's great, and also, we were talking about value prop, and we were talking about, there's a couple things I think you're doing so fantastic here. One is that vertical focus. Obviously, this is something that you can kind of easily repeat again with another opportunity in the same space. So I think that's really useful time to be able to go out and show that you can focus on that one space. And then the other thing I would say is great is, you are showing that value proposition and showing something specific to that customer. So why should they care about you? Well, you've got it right there. So I think, oftentimes we're like, oh, well, I'm a great Office 365, reseller, and I can help you, with the services around that. But you've taken that to the next level, and I think that's really fantastic.
So Taylor, have you sent this out already?
No, actually, this morning I think I put it in the bullet format, and probably tomorrow I'll send it out to another 15 or 20.
Cool. I would say, is your headline Microsoft Fast Track funding offer?
It is.
Okay. So I would just think about that a little bit more. Does your customer really see a value in seeing a headline with Microsoft Fast Track in it? So just, or are they more interested in the discount they're getting or something more? It's because you want them to open the email, right away. So I don't know. I'm not sure our SMB customer, if they see Microsoft Fast Track. I don't know if that's a threat to them because they see word Microsoft and that's a big company, and that Microsoft has nothing for me. I don't know. You know your local geography, and if that's a word that actually you think your customer cares based on what you've seen in your own market, then you can leave it there. It's totally up to you. If you feel Microsoft adds value, that word, or specifically Microsoft Fast Track, then leave it. If not, then I would replace it with the real benefit that Debbie's going to get from this email and you, right? So,
Sure.
which is more the discount or the meeting with you or the value.
For this,
Yeah.
for
Sorry, go
this
ahead.
particular vertical, I don't believe I've ever approached someone or spoken to someone who was not aware of Microsoft and Office 365. They're using Exchange now on-prem. These are larger organizations, and so I think when a government entity sees Microsoft, it's not so much off-putting.
Which is great. How about Microsoft Office 365 then? Instead of
I
Fast
think
Track?
I have had that in some
You
prior.
did? Okay.
I mix it up every few months. I try something else.
Yeah, then I would say Microsoft funding offer.
Well-
I wouldn't
Yeah, I
put
think
Fast
you're
Track.
right.
I would talk about migration too, because that's what Fast Track is, right? So potentially, I don't know, and you could tell me, and you're going to know better than we will, but would migration, would that term maybe be more familiar?
For a customer, yeah, I don't know if they, right?
Yeah, I'm not
But
sure.
if Microsoft works, leave it. I would take out Fast Track. Microsoft funding offer, that's great. Wow, there's an offer and it's about funding and it's from Microsoft and from Taylor. I'm going to read this. I
My
think Fast
thought
Track,
was,
yeah.
put something like Fast Track in there, and it might pique their curiosity.
You can try it,
Yeah.
but I think I'm thinking the customer, and if you feel your customer might be curious, that's okay too.
And maybe do a little, A/B testing. And I know this is a very specific one, but if you have another opportunity that comes up and you want to try that, then that's a great way to kind of see, what worked, what didn't. Obviously, it's hard with if you're doing one-on-one sort of, opportunities, but still, I think you can kind of see, what do people respond to. So.
With this particular vertical, just about all municipalities have a Microsoft account exec assigned to them.
Yes.
And so just about everybody in this vertical is aware of Fast Track, because with some of the changes now that Microsoft will provide access to Fast Track and onboarding for as small as 50 users.
Taylor, you've passed the test. You know your audience. That's awesome. That's fantastic. And that's the key, right?
Yeah.
If you know your customer base and your audience, then that's fantastic.
That's the first thing, and the second is to get them to open your mail.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. All right. Well, it looks like I have another question. So Taylor, thank you so much for sending this over to us. And thank you so much for being willing to share this out. We are happy to look at your materials. During this program, that's one of the things that you can get from us is Workier, and whether you want to put something up on Yammer or you want to send something to the GetOpt alias, we love taking a look at these, and we also love hearing kind of how it goes once you've sent it out. Taylor, we look forward to hearing back from you next week on whether you heard back from Debbie and what the next steps are.
Will do. Thank you.
Great. So now, David, you said that you've got a question. Do you want to speak up?
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, perfect. Just want to start off by saying thanks so much for having me, and thank you, Taylor, for sharing that email. Definitely some great value in there in terms of copy. One thing, and I hope this isn't too off topic, is we are really we're trying to educate our customers during the buying process, but some of our customers are like going on Amazon and looking up products that may have questionable pricing or maybe might be illegal through Amazon. It's like, Windows Server that's $300, for example. Have you guys experienced or had are there any examples of maybe some content or strategies that might help us prove our value in the sense of you're buying something, that's legit? Is there any maybe statistics or helpful ideas that you would have to kind of quell some of those concerns that customers have when they see a product that's 50% cheaper on Amazon?
You know, I need to look for specifics in it, but we do have it's the Modern Biz Compliance Campaign.
Okay.
And that campaign is all about talking about the dangers of using software that is not genuine, and the cost that it can play on a company in terms of, you know, cybercrime and things of that nature. So I have a link to that campaign, and we can kind of dig through it maybe a little offline and see if there's some specific points, but it's really pretty strong. So
Beautiful.
yeah, so I'll get that
That's
up
exactly
for
what
you.
I needed. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, but Jeff, it sounds like yours was actually a legit lower price, right, that you couldn't compete with? So you probably want to
Oh.
compete, but for Jeff, different than David. But you probably want to try to compete on a different level, probably, right? I don't know. That's a tough one in terms of what other values you can bring to
Yeah,
the
I mean, I would
customer.
say on that one, potentially the relationship that you can build around, you know, providing services and all of that can potentially be the value add there
Well,
when you're looking at competing price. But
Yeah,
Sorry.
the problem is we can still do the service, you know. So they asked us, can we buy it from these guys and you do the service? And of course the answer is yes. And so it's just, I mean, honestly, it's just Microsoft, the way they've set it up, they allow the LSPs to get a much lower, I mean, the LSP was offering at to the client, a lower cost than what I pay for it. And so there's no competing with that. It wasn't like it was, you know, a few bucks a year. I mean, it was a couple thousand a year the client was going to save doing it this way. Same software, you know, it's just a choice Microsoft made, you know, instead of making everyone sell it at the same price and evening the field.
yeah, so you know, I'm going to admit I'm not an expert in that area, so I can't speak too much to that. But one thing I just want to ask you about is incentives. You know, it's Q4 right now, and we do have a lot of incentives in market, which potentially, you know, you could leverage to then, you know, potentially reduce your price and what you're offering. So my question to you would be, you know, are you aware of the incentives that are in market, Sprint to the Finish, and a few other things? And would you leverage those, you know, rebates to potentially reduce your price?
But
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm definitely aware of them, but for some of them are only available for Champs Club partners.
Yes, that's true.
And like even the Sprint to the Finish, it only applies to the fourth sale. So again, if you're not one of the bigger partners that do a ton of them, you can't necessarily take the same advantage.
But I think his purchase price, even from Microsoft, was higher than the price offered. It's not even his resale price. So that's
Right.
a big challenge for him.
Oh, yeah.
So he would be selling at a huge loss already,
Yeah,
right? If
yeah.
he lowers his
Which
price.
we never want, right? I mean, you never want to be in a situation where you're feeling uncomfortable about, you know, that, you know, you should always feel like this business is business that, like,
Yeah,
you know.
and I don't think we can offer any.
No, I can't give very good insight there, but I appreciate the feedback because it is something that, you know, I'll share out with our leadership and our team. You know, it's good to have that information. But yeah, no, I mean, in terms of the compliance side of things, you know, Chris put that campaign in the chat window. We certainly, that's something that we spend a lot of time focusing on. You know, it is really important. You know, there's a stat out there about how, you know, small and medium businesses are definitely, you know, more, what's the word? Prone to, or, you know, have more, it's more likely to go under in case of, you know, some sort of cybersecurity attack. And so it is really important that they, you know, have everything in compliance, because what is it? Something like 60% of small and medium businesses that face some sort of cyber attack will go out of business within 6 months. Which I think is just a really shocking statistic. So, you know, it is really important. We do have a lot of data like that we can share out as well, that you can, you know, leverage with your customers. But yeah, you know, that's what I would definitely share. I think, you know, they're most secure when they're, you know, buying legitimate products and that they're working with you who know how to leverage them best.
It's like everything you buy, and that's cheaper. There's always a risk.
Yeah.
For anything you buy, right? Not just software.
And Lisa, I can definitely share that out with you. I know that was there's a member of our team who did some work with, I think it was with Allstate, was it? Around, yeah, so he's got some great
We have a lot of
information.
data, yeah.
And we've got a lot of information on that. So Lisa, I'll get that out to you via email, and then we'll also put that up on Yammer. What else do we have here? Yep, there's and yeah, so, and then Robin did, Robin Church, for any of you who are on the call on Tuesday, Robin, you talked about an event that you're going to be doing, and that, you sent out invites for 2 different events, and one of them, so far you had 5 as of Tuesday, and the other one you had 50-something partners registered. And so a lot of folks mentioned that they were really interested in, seeing those invites and even potentially going to the event. So Robin did post those in Yammer. Robin, thank you so much for that. Please, go up and download those and join or, see that best practice. Robin, is there anything you want to share on that?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So we are up to 67 registrants and 12 registrants for our other one. So we're getting really excited. We have another invitation going out next week for both of those. We will send another reminder out the day before for each of those. We have one on Wednesday and one on Thursday. So we're really excited. The one that we have 67 registrants for is for a launch of a new product we are launching. So we're really excited about that. So we just, we tapped into a new audience with some new content. So we're hoping that'll be a real success. We've been doing webinars for a while now, but we've kind of started a new process. We hired a new salesperson, we're a small company, so that's new for us. So we are kind of in new territory where we kind of have a new process going with new follow-up and new marketing, where we actually have really a whole team that's working on the front end, the follow-through. So this whole series has been really, really great for me because I have a lot of information that I'm taking back to my new team. So we have a lot of meat to share with each other on how we can do follow-up and prep work and content and putting things together. So this has been really, really, really great for us as a team. So I'm looking forward to really some of the stuff we're going to get into in the next couple of weeks about follow-through. Because obviously as we go through next week and do our webinar, obviously the follow-through after that is going to be really, really important for us. So this is a really exciting time for us, and this whole program could not have come at a better time for us. So I'm really, really appreciative of everything I'm getting out of this program.
Hey, Robin. So
Yes.
That's really great feedback. So glad that you're sharing with us. And it's great to hear that this is working for you. You did mention that you reached out to a new audience with some new content. And I was just wondering if you could share, when you say new audience, what you mean by that. Did you get a list of new folks that you didn't have before, or did you just segment your existing list and target them a little bit differently with your content?
Well, we actually started using Discover.org, which is how we got a new segment of people to reach out to. We have a new person that we brought in for some outsourcing marketing, who just has been working on doing nothing but helping us reach new audiences. And one of the things that he brought to the table was using Discover.org. And so that's how we really have reached this new group that we got so many respondents for this product launch. So I'm kind of curious to see, since we did get so many people for this webinar, exactly how that's going to work for us in turning those leads into possible, customers for us. So I'm curious to see if using Discover.org is going to be, beneficial for us, or if, that's really just going to be just more of a lead generation that's not going to go anywhere. So that's something I can definitely follow up with you all and tell you if that's, and I'd love to hear from other people if Discover.org is something other people have used and they found success with. Because this is something new to us that we've never used before to find leads. So, I'm interested to see if other people have used this and found success, but that's really where we have really been pulling new people to get on our webinars.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Sorry, go ahead.
So has anybody else used them and found any success with them?
What are they? I love it, Jeff. It looks like they're like a company that helps you make a list. Is it like list building?
Yeah, it's a lead generation company, basically. They are a company that helps you basically find leads. That's what they do.
And do you pay per lead, or do you pay
You pay per group. So we actually subscribe to a finance group and an IT group.
Okay. And then do they just give you leads to reach out to yourself, or do they promote your content to them to get them into your database?
No, it's just the leads. So what we do is we do searches. You can search by industry, you can search by size of company, you can search by title, you can search by job function, you can search by we can search by SharePoint users, by Microsoft users, and then what we do is we compile a group that we then export into an Excel sheet that we import into our CRM, and then we send invitations out through CRM.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I have not heard of this before, so I'll look into this. This is really useful. We did have somebody last week during office hours ask about list building and how to grow your list, so this is one option there. And then just to follow up on that conversation, we are planning to do a little bit of content on next week on Tuesday's webinar about list building as well to help provide some additional insights. So this is fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
No problem. There's also another list out there that we looked at called Foundly. It's Foundly. We ultimately chose to go with Discover.org over them, but they basically do the same thing. So that's another one people can look into if they're interested.
Fantastic. And we've got a question from Taylor about Robin Robbins.
Yes, I can answer
that.
that.
Look at you for that one.
So did we answer the cost question for Jeff?
I don't actually know the cost. Our accounting department handled that, but I can try and find out for you, Jeff.
I mean, is the answer affordable? Is that about right? Maybe. Either way, let us know. Yeah, absolutely.
I can find out.
And definitely, we would love to hear as you go through this process, as you have the event and you see how these leads pan out. I know everyone's always looking for a good source and a good way of going about this, particularly at an affordable price. So yes, we'd love anything you can share on the experience. I'm sure everyone would love to hear that.
So sure. Taylor, yes, I run the Robin Robbins program that we did. What's your question around that? More than happy to answer.
We have purchased the technology marketing toolkit and have been with the program for maybe 6 months, so I'm familiar with her and the organization, and was really excited when it was announced she was going to choose 25 partners to put together a marketing program, but then disappointed when I learned that it was not going to be something that Microsoft made available to other partners. It's something that Robin is now selling or using to entice other partners into her program.
So it will be available to Microsoft partners, but through her, right? Because it's her own IP, it's in her own program. We can't really own that. What we were trying to do is to work with her to develop a customized, step-by-step, what works for Office 365 using her ideas and her tools at the end of the day, right? So she will be, we've concluded the pilot, the 25 partners. I think we have, I think one of the partners in this program maybe as well. We've concluded all the campaigns that different partners in the pilot have done. A lot of them have already seen success, and we'll be sharing that out in terms of results and who did what and what that led them to in terms of the number of leads or licenses sold or actual revenue that the partners reported, obviously, right, as a result of this. And then the plan is really to have that, to have her set up customized templates for Office 365, like emails that you would send out that are her emails, but then customized to promote Office 365 benefits to customers and so on. But it would be under her logo or her umbrella with our blessing or our support. But again, since it's her IP, it will be available to Microsoft partners, but you would have to work with her or pay her, right, for this. It wouldn't be a free service from like content on Microsoft websites, right? Because think about it, it's something that obviously and the 25 partners in the pilot did pay as well. I don't know if you remember that. So it wasn't free for them either, right? So
well, and I think since we had purchased the technology marketing toolkit and had it for about 6 months, it's now available as part of that toolkit. But I had to go. She said, "You can have it, but you've got to go to the boot camp," and that was about $3,000. So I realize it's available to us. It was my mistake thinking it was something Microsoft was doing for the partners. It's more like Microsoft doing for Robin Robbins, that she can then market out.
Well, I wouldn't call it that. I don't think we're doing it for her. We're doing it for the partners because she seems to have a I don't know, secret sauce of some sort that works, which we don't even have insight into. So we're not doing it for her. We're doing it for the partners, but we're helping her customize it for Office 365, right, at the end of the day.
Deanna?
Yeah.
Larry Parkinson. She did indicate during one of her meetings that it would be on the dashboard eventually.
Oh,
yeah, for you to consume. Yes, absolutely.
You're a marketing toolkit member, or you're in the Apprentice Club, or whatever you're in. It will be on the dashboard.
But I don't know yet what that would look like, if it's already included for free for you, if you're already a member or not. We haven't figured that out yet, right? So we're almost there.
It would be on the dashboard for existing members.
So Larry, you're already a member with her, right?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Larry.
Hi.
Well, what one of the partners said, well, let's just avail ourselves of the guarantee, get a refund of the $3,000 we've given her, then we'll resubscribe and then have access to the tool. Because as I was told by somebody in the organization, if existing members wouldn't have access to it.
Yeah, so, I have a call with her today. I will actually make sure whatever she's saying is clear enough. And since we haven't reached a point yet where this is final, so I'm not sure what her folks are saying or not saying and why they're saying what they're saying. But again, I want to make sure everybody knows we didn't do this for her. We did this for our partners based on partner feedback that she is able to get them to generate leads, right, through her, her methods. And so we were trying to make sure she's available to partners with the right Microsoft Office messages and content, et cetera, and so on, but under her own tactics or offer in a way.
Yeah, she did make the offer online, so it was during one of her, one of her meetings.
Super. Thanks, Larry.
Yep.
We are at the end of our time, if you can believe it, and we didn't even, Jess is on the line, and we didn't even share out the events best practices 2-pager, which is great, because, we've had such fantastic conversation here today, and I feel like I've learned a ton. We're going to share out a bunch more resources that we've talked about today on the Yammer group. We'll be following up with some of you via email.
We did post the 2-pager on the Get Optimized site, so if you go to week 4, you guys can access it there for anybody who's doing an event. It's a really nice, concise, double-sided PDF visual that has some do's and don'ts and tips for planning and timelines and stuff, so take a look at that. And then I also wanted to mention, since we had quite a bit of participation on Tuesday for our polling, and it looked like half or more than half of you guys were interested in prospecting, help with prospecting and bringing in new leads. So we're going to be adjusting the agenda for the future weeks. We're going to add in some tips about prospecting with SEM and prospecting with LinkedIn, and then we'll close with creating a sustainable marketing cycle and a cadence moving forward. So just something new to look forward to. Hopefully that's going to be helpful for you guys. And then next week, like I mentioned, we'll talk about list building and how to take a look at your marketing funnel and ensure that you get good conversion sales.
So we'll be sharing out that updated version of the 8-week program shortly. And if everyone can see my screen, I am just showing you what the 2-pager of best practices on marketing looks like. So it's a very useful, very easy to read piece of content, very helpful to maybe even print out and have with you, in terms of the check boxes and what you have to do, the do's and don'ts, etc. So we're going to stop there. Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's been a great session. We really appreciate all the participation and sharing back and forth. And we hope to see you next week on Tuesday.